Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another EduMatch launch. Tonight, we have a very awesome, brand new EduMatch author. So we are so excited to welcome Dr. Nick Sutton. Thanks for coming by, Doc, and congratulations on your launch. We're so excited for you. How are you today?
I couldn't be better. This is exciting. This is really exciting. I'm trying to think of a fancier word now that I'm a new author than exciting, but I am really excited. Thank you for having me be a part of this EduMatch family and just this opportunity.
Oh, we are so happy to have you in our family, and just so excited to learn from you and to learn with you. And yeah, your book is awesome. I really had I was telling you before we went live, it's just been such a joy to work with you throughout this entire process. So we're going to go ahead and jump into a few questions just to get to know a little more about you and a little more about your book, your awesome book. And we also have some guests that will be popping in to say hello, and we have an author reading as well as some giveaways at the end. So that's kind of a little roadmap for where we'll be over the next half hour or so. So we're going to go ahead and get it cracking with the very first question. So why is professional development such a passion for you?
You know, it's been a little bit of a journey for me. I mean, when I first became a teacher and then a principal before I climbed to the role of a superintendent, like most superintendents, boy, when I was a principal, like SEL and advisories and building culture, I mean, that was my passion. That was my focus. That was definitely a core value. And it really became kind of like the experience of doing the doctorate that like, I kind of realized some things. When I initially started doing the research for my doctorate, I was convinced that there were instructional strategies that existed that would impact both student achievement and also correlate to a positive climate. And one of my favorite sayings that I've kind of realized is sometimes you find the answer to a question you never asked, because my entire experience during my dissertation kind of made me realize that there is no such thing as an instructional strategy that really enhances a positive climate and student achievement. And so kind of really looking at, okay, how can I improve student achievement really became kind of this passion of mine over the last couple of years. And so it's professional development. Quality professional development that improves instruction is the way that you improve kids' lives. It's the way that you improve a school. It's the way that you improve educators. And that's really why it's just become something that I find myself just really, really enjoying and just kind of almost obsessing about.
Wow, totally. Yeah, I love what you said about how we can impact student achievement and also create like the positive climate for our schools. So that is just so on point and so impactful. So speaking of impact, we'll go to the second question here. So why do you think that some professional development never has an impact it was meant to?
I think because in some ways you have to build the foundation before you build the house. And what I mean by that is you sometimes interact with educators and school districts that are well-meaning and wonderful, but they might not have a solid curriculum. They might have confusion that a resource is a piece of curriculum. They might not really have a culture where you're really looking at the research that's out there on how best to impact kids through instruction. And so I think it's one of those things where I experienced it, and I think everybody else has at some point, that there's nothing more disheartening than some sort of school improvement day when somebody walks out of there and goes, none of that applied to me at all. And I can remember experiencing that, or even kind of getting that feedback as an administrator. And so it's like, you really have to really make sure that you have a focus on how can you improve instruction, because that is the only way that you can give an experience to a building staff that whether you teach pre-K or 12th grade calculus, instruction applies to you. That is the universal language. And that is why sometimes I don't think professional development has the impact that it should. It's not based on instruction.
I hear you on that. And I love what you were saying also about the relevance behind it, you know, how it needs to be relevant, and people need to feel like they get something out of it. Absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. All right. So we have a couple of guests that are here. So we're just going to call an audible and bring them in a little earlier. But the very first one that we have here is Barb. So welcome, Barb. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks. Doing great. It's so fantastic to have you here. So if you could please introduce yourself and just how do you know Nick?
Well, my name's Barb Baker, and I've been an educator for now 23 years. I met Nick before he was even an administrator years and years ago when he was teaching. He signed up to do some summer school and was working on his first Type 75, his admin back then. That's kind of how we met. And then what's interesting is that kind of came back around and he was my administrator for a few years. And then we just sort of kept in touch as he's progressed on. But I've taught various different subjects and grade levels throughout my career. And so we've kind of just, our paths have kind of connected at different times, I guess, throughout the journey.
Similar core values.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, good people attract good people. So absolutely. So that's fantastic. So what was like your main takeaway from the book?
Oh my gosh, there were so many. I felt like it resonated with me in a number of different ways throughout each section. It was like I was able to connect. One of the things that I was just thinking about as I think about the book was a section about being an educator is more than educating. And I believe it's toward the end of the book. And it kind of is talking about, you know, sometimes there's this balance between work and home and trying to find what is a healthy balance for you. But what's interesting though is that sometimes if you do spend so much more time at work, there's this like negative connotation about it. But if that's what you really love and that's your passion, then shouldn't it be like your own balance is saying that's what I really want to do. That's where I want to spend my time. That's where I choose to put my energy. And so I think that, you know, that one was just something that kind of stood out. But there were so many things that along the way as I read it that I felt like, ooh, aha moments, or I can think back to a situation like this in my own career and kind of, you know, have it be impactful in different ways along the way.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I love that balance part that you talked about. Like balance is different for each person, you know? And yeah, that's just a fantastic part of the book that I enjoyed as well. So what would you like to say to Nick on his big day today?
I'm just proud of him and so excited that he asked me to do this. And I look forward to seeing what else he's going to do with the rest of his career, as well as any other books. And I just wish him the best.
Oh, I appreciate you, Barb. I love you too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, that is super, super cool. We really want to thank you so much for taking time out and coming on today on the launch to wish Nick well. And, you know, we really appreciate having you here. So thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me. Good luck, Nick. Love you. Thanks.
Take care.
You too.
I think I might have a little bit of okay. I think that my internet had a little glitch.
No
so
worries.
My apologies.
Hey, in this whole new world of Zoom and video calls, we're all used to it, so no worries.
Oh, totally. Well, thank you so much. Absolutely. All right. So it was great to hear from Barb. You also have another special guest here, Matt, and we're going to hear from him in just a little bit. But just a couple more questions for you. So, do you think that all educators are always in a place, either personally or professionally, to be receptive to improving? What are your thoughts on that?
The short answer is no, and we don't address that enough. And I think we work in this field where I think there's a lot of variables here. I mean, the first one is who wants to have, you know, their kid in a class where there's an educator that really sees themselves as anything but perfect. And I think we have to kind of get rid of that and say, no, it's okay. None of us are. None of us are. And I think the part in some ways that I even realized this to a further extent is once I become an administrator, I was like, I had these times where it's like, why is this one person resisting this? Mm-hmm. And for a while I used to think maybe they're just a negative, unenlightened person, but then it's like, wow, they just might not be in a place personally to be receptive to improving. And I think maybe some of this comes with time and firsthand experience, but it's like, I've been at places in my life personally where the last thing I wanted to do was improve professionally. So I think before you really kind of dive in and build professional development and lead it and try to be a person that impacts and improves a school, you have to at least acknowledge, do you have a culture and climate where people feel safe enough where they can really kind of address it and seek that help in whatever way they need to, where it's like, look, I'm not at my best personally right now. And I just think this is something where it's like, we need to have this culture not only in each building, but we need to have this in our field, because I don't know if it's kind of universally there. And I think it's a variable that really affects a lot of professional development.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Just that self-knowledge and what you said, safety as well. Like that is huge in terms of the climate of the school, so that people could be authentic and transparent. Then that is such a great point that you made right there. So absolutely. And I see that Melody pulled up the great comment that you made about do you have a culture and climate where people feel safe to say, I don't feel at my best right now. That and that's real talk. We've had a crazy year. So, that's definitely been on a lot of folks' minds. So okay. So I know that Barb was mentioned a part of your book where you talked about balance. So that kind of leads us into our next question. Where do you think that the balance is for improving an educational setting instructionally and culturally?
I think you really have to see it as two different entities. I used to be the biggest proponent that there would be all these correlational improvements. If you did one thing, well, that's going to magically make everything else better. Because I used to think that about a positive culture and climate. And so I really want to stress, I'm as big of a fan of building a positive culture and climate as everybody or as anybody you'll ever meet. But I've just learned, and the research I've done and the research that I've been involved with all supports that if you just have a positive culture, it doesn't magically make instruction and student achievement improve. And I really had to realize that. And so it's like my book and a lot of what I talk about and just the educators that I hope to positively impact, the balance is really this. If you want to improve instruction, you have to have quality professional development that really bases it on conceptual, hands-on instructional strategies. And if you want to improve a culture, I honestly, the number one intervention that people can do is have administrative support. That is what the research in my book has indicated, from my dissertation, research I've done, firsthand experience. I mean, you really have to have these two separate interventions going to really have improvement in both of these realms.
Yes, absolutely. So I love how you said that they're both kind of independent from one another, that one does not necessarily cause the other to be a thing. And you have to put that dedicated energy into both in order to have the optimal environment for your school. So that definitely resonates.
And I had to learn that firsthand, because I used to think it was the latter.
Yeah, totally. And that makes so much sense. So I appreciate you bringing up that point. Yeah. So we are now going to hear from your second guest, Matt. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, Sarah, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. And if you could please introduce yourself and let everybody know how you know Nick.
Well, my name is Matt Jacobson. I am currently the online learning specialist for the Learning Technology Center of Illinois, which means I make online courses for teachers. But prior to that, I was fortunate enough to work with Nick in a couple different stages of his career. I was a professional learning coordinator in a district where Nick was teaching, actually, in the classroom, first of all, and I helped coordinate some mentoring services and things like that. But I also have my hand in the technology realm as well. And Nick was making blogs and websites for his team and things like that. And then Nick went off to greener pastures and became a principal and circled back around to the same district as a building leader. So I got to work with Nick in leadership and planning of not only his instructional leadership, but also help support his professional learning leadership in his building as well.
Oh,
So that's how I know Nick.
That is fantastic. And y'all have a podcast together too, yeah?
We do.
Well, yeah, we do have that little side thing going on. Yeah. So it's called Learning Through Leading, and you can find that at www.learningthroughleading.com. And make sure you look up the episode where we interview Sarah Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. I
Learn a
love
lot more
you
about
guys'
EduMatch.
podcast. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Y'all do such a great job. It's definitely a must listen to. Yeah. So what were some of your takeaways from the book, Matt?
Well, I heard Barb talking earlier, and I heard you folks talking earlier about the people being in that good place where they're ready to learn professionally and grow professionally, and that certainly resonated with me. And sort of on that note, I just want to say, Nick Sutton, I hate you. I have been avoiding reading instructional and educational research for quite some time. And Nick says, all you have to do, come on the show, all you have to do is just read the summaries and wing it. It'll be fine. And I read the summaries and it's really good. I had to go back and wait, there's some profound stuff in this book.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to go back through and I read it virtual cover to virtual cover because I got my Kindle version today on launch. And it's really, really good. And I'm Nick isn't paying me to say this or anything like that. It's just really good. And Nick kind of weaves together not only the instructional leadership, the curriculum leadership, but also the professional learning leadership. It just all into one. You really can't have one without the other, right? Because good professional learning is just plain good learning.
Yes.
And one of the things that really resonated with me, in addition to the amazing graphics by Miss Addie,
yeah,
wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. Nick, you're saying that climate has nothing. It's not the determinant of professional learning, but I truly believe, and you are a self-proclaimed climate guy. I've heard you say that before. I've got it on tape somewhere. But I do think it greases the wheels. If you have that positive climate, if you create that culture of collegiality, however you say that word, where people want to work together, then those wheels that you greased with positive culture really can start to roll toward those SMART goals. I love the graphic at the end of section 3, section 4, the graphic at the end where you kind of lay out your 4-step plan. You really start to look at data. You start to set up those SMART goals. You look at the professional learning and the learning techniques that gain the most ground, and then kind of wash, rinse, repeat. And you look at that. You look at more data, and you talk with more people. And I think that culture and climate, while not the determinant, it's not one or the other. If you have good climate, just like Nick was saying, if you have good climate, you're going to have good scores. That's not the case, but necessarily the case. But if you do have a positive climate, it's easier to row that big boat together, all in the same direction. And that is really the key, I think, the key to what good professional learning is. It's collaborative. It's professionals sitting down in a room and talking, not as, hey, I'm the new guy and I think we need to move in this direction now, even though you've been going in a different direction for X number of years. It's, what do you think is best and how can we work together to get where we need to go? And that's the part that really resonated with me.
And I gotta tell you, and I mean, it feels good, Sarah, that, people like Barb and Matt that I respect immensely, like it's very exposing to kind of write a book and to kind of have these little parts of it that are personal. And so it's, but I think doing that helps perpetuate kind of what I'm hoping is one of the messages in there, that like you have to really embrace educators where they're at, both personally and professionally, if ultimately you want them to improve their instruction for the benefit of kids. Right.
Absolutely. The whole educator. I can dig it for sure.
Well,
for sure.
And definitely Nick and I are also big proponents of getting out into those classrooms and walking around in them and seeing what's happening. Just that being visible and developing those relationships so that you can see what's happening in the classroom and recognize when those educators who maybe aren't in a place where they want to learn and grow yet, and you can start to pick out, let's look at an area where you might be interested. Let's do some peer walking. Love that stuff, Nick. That's good stuff.
Well, very appreciated.
Yeah. And kudos for you for seeing this through. It takes a lot of strength to put your ideas down on paper. I haven't done it yet, but Sarah, we're going to talk.
Oh, yes. We will definitely talk. Absolutely. Oh, my goodness. But we really appreciate you being here today, as well as just your fantastic insight. Is there anything else that you want to share with Nick?
I am so impressed with this guy. It is an honor to be able to extend the working relationship and the friendship that we have. And Nick, I would say I'm proud of you, but I didn't do a darn thing. So I got nothing to be proud of. I hope you are proud of yourself for getting this book out there. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. I appreciate it immensely.
Yes, we are all so happy that your words are out there, and people get to benefit from your experience and from your insights. So thank you, and thank you, Matt, for joining us tonight. So we look forward to seeing you more in the future. Okay, great, man. So we just heard from two amazing folks. Including you, so that makes three amazing people. Right now, what we'll do is an author's read. So you have a selection picked out for us.
I do. This one was easy. It was easy. So I will jump right in because this really did happen and it did have a profound kind of impact on myself. Years ago, I took my two daughters to a large cheerleading competition. If there's any other parents out there that have ever been to an event like this, they know how large some of these events truly are. This particular one took place near Chicago. It was intense, to say the least, due to the volume of spectators. While there was a lot of wonderful memories during this weekend event, one experience has been burned in my mind, was certainly not positive, but as I continue to reflect on this day now years later, it was not necessarily a negative event either. Instead, it was thought-provoking, and truly enough so that I still find myself reflecting on it even today. When traveling home, we were in a large enough area near the suburbs of Chicago that there were people everywhere, and the volume of cars only seemed to increase as we neared the highway. As we approached the last set of stoplights, right before the entrance to the on-ramp to the side of the road, there was an individual holding a sign that indicated that he was homeless and he was asking for money. As I instinctively noticed the individual right away, I wasn't sure how my two young children were going to react. At the time, my oldest was about 7 years old, putting it right at the correct age to have questions, but also not entirely able to understand the predicament that the poor person along the road had found himself in. What does homeless mean? My daughter asked. I can still remember that my child asked me this in a manner and tone that I'll never forget, but also with a level of confused innocence that made this instance for me a memory that will remain. I went on to explain that some individuals simply aren't born with privileges, as some of us are, and sometimes individuals have horrible and unfortunate things happen to them that contribute to a difficult situation. Basically, I stumbled through the standard answer that I think most would imagine an unexpecting parent to give when tasked to answer a question of this potential scope and magnitude. While many of the specific details of the experience now lost upon me, the one takeaway I do recall was the concluding comment I made at the end that was something I was initially quite satisfied with. This is really unfortunate that this person is in this situation. It's too bad, and this should really make us feel so appreciative of all that we have. Now, at first, I'm presuming that individuals out there are reading this, maybe wondering what is wrong with the response I gave. Perhaps many are even now becoming curious, where am I going with this? Because this comment could be very similar to what they would make themselves if in a similar situation. I felt pretty content with how I handled this too initially. And essentially what I go on to kind of talk about is, I just let my daughter know I thought it was too bad. I didn't actually do anything. I didn't do anything to help this gentleman's predicament, and I certainly didn't do anything to help homeless individuals as a whole. And the connection I make to that is, I just think there's a lot of us in society, educators included, where if we see an issue, a challenge, or a problem, we think it's enough to just kind of say, that's too bad. I can think of enough educational settings that I've been in where there's poor test scores, or there's achievement gaps, or there's discipline data that we're anything but proud of. And I fall into this trap too, that I go, that's too bad. I wish it was better. And there's too much just observation and acknowledgement of an issue rather than action and moving forward that we're going to address this. And so after this section, I really kind of go into, I don't want to be an educator that just says it's too bad that this kid is struggling, and be satisfied that I've let it be known that I wish they were doing better. I want to be somebody that really takes action and addresses it and improves it. And so I think we all have those experiences in life that become these kind of lifelong strange analogies. And for me, this experience with my two kiddos at a cheerleading competition, God, now almost 5 years ago, was kind of one of those things for me.
Wow, that is powerful, and that's powerful that you could draw that analogy and just kind of apply it to education and a lot of the things that we see in our field, and I agree with you. There's a lot of talk, but not a whole lot of action, and the action's what's really going to be the differentiator. So. Yeah, so totally. So that section that you read was so powerful. So that kind of leads us into our final question. For where can someone get more information about a potential book study for your new release? www.learningthroughleading.com. That is obviously where our podcast is housed at, as well as information about my co-host and I. But soon you're going to be seeing a section where it's not only if you are interested in buying the book or learning about myself, this will be where if you want to reach out, you're interested in some sort of book study, interested in some sort of consulting agreement, or anything else that is ultimately just about networking and interacting, meeting new educators, and we all improve, that would be the place to find that. And that opportunity on that website is coming soon. Nice. We can't wait. So learningthroughleading.com. So everybody check that out. And also, if you want to check out the book, then you can find more information on that site. And you can also find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes & Noble. You can find it on our EduMatch website at edumatch-publishing.myshopify.com. Or even better, just go to edumatchpublishing.com and click on the store, or and then you'll be able to see the book in the new release category. So also, Melody pointed out before we went on air that this book is #1 new release in the aims and objectives category on Amazon. So congratulations for that as well. Just super excited. And also congratulations to Addie. She did the illustrations in the book.
Yeah. Shout out to my soon to be 12-year-old daughter, Addie Sutton, who is the illustrator of the pictures in there. So yeah, that was cool. That's very special to me. So I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, she has a bright future ahead of her as an illustrator. So definitely congratulations to you. Congratulations to her. Congratulations to the family. So we're once again very, very excited, and we want to thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Nick, and thank you to our guests. Thank you to Melody. Shout out, she's off camera right now. Yeah, so she's off camera right now. But definitely wanted to give her a shout out. Is it cool if she pops on?
Oh, I love Melody. Absolutely.
All right, cool. Melody, hey.
Is it
All
for
right.
what I think it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I wanted to sing. I love to sing whenever I'm live. So I wanted to sing a happy book birthday to you. So if you want to join in wherever you are, it's okay. We can't hear you singing. If you too want to join in, but happy birthday to you. Happy book birthday to you. Happy book birthday, Dr. Nick Sutton. Happy book birthday to you.
Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Yes. And my party hat is always here. But no, congratulations. And I just want to say that I have read most of your book. I think it's completely legit. Like on all, you talk about kind of the case. You build up that case for quality PD before you actually get to the specifics of how to do that. So, and it was completely 100%. I agree with it. And I'm glad that you put it out there. Congratulations. This takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of perseverance. And like you said, when you put your book out there, it's almost like it's almost like you have one of those naked dream moments where everybody you're just kind of like, oh my gosh. So yeah, you did it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And so thank you to everybody for watching. Thanks again, Dr. Nick, for everything that you're offering to the educational community. And we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast. So everybody be well, and we will see you next time. So take it easy, everyone.